So I want to start off about Are You OK? I'm an ambassador for Are You OK? And it's one of the things I do now after being a police officer for 16 years. I was a detective sergeant and sadly, I lost my career. I lost the career I loved. I worked in the local area. I investigated, and that being the Ku-ring-gai council area, and investigated as a lead investigator with another detective sergeant, the most prolific pedophile investigation within a school in Australia. And that was a number of years ago. And it was a case where that, what I call, came into the house, came into my being, came into who I was. And I had a son who was a similar age to those who were a victim during that matter, albeit it was historical. And I will go through that. But I'm going to use what's called safe language, and I'm not going to delve into all the ins and outs in respects to my work as a police officer. But I also want to express how much Are You OK means to me, and how much Are You OK can mean for everybody, because we don't need to be anything when not being other than a compassionate person who wants to reach out, who can reach out, and not only, and this is the special part about Are You OK, and the simplified meaning behind it. It's not only the possibility of changing a life, it's also about saving lives. And that's how powerful it is. And this could be a work colleague. We're only as fast as our slowest person within work, within any associated group we're within. If you notice the signs, it's time to have a meaningful conversation. And I will go through that with you. Now, Are You OK was started in 2009 by a gentleman by the name of Gavin Larkham. It's a heart-wrenching story in regards to what took place with Gavin and how Are You OK came about. In 1995, his father took his own life. And Gavin, from that, he looked at and blaming himself about what he could have done, about the things that he could have said to his father. And in 2009, came up with the Are You OK message and the power of that message. And in 2011, so sadly, Gavin lost his life to cancer. His son lost his life, who was a teenage boy, shortly after, to a tumour. And the legacy for this man and what he has created has saved and helped. I've been an ambassador now for 4 years, and the messages I have received and my peers and the Are You OK message has saved, even for just me having the feedback, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lives. Changed them, but saved them. Just from being an empathetic, compassionate person who can reach out, connect and reach out. Connect. I want you to keep that word in your head, connection. It's powerful. It's one of the hallmarks of resilience. It's so powerful that when we have connection, and as human beings, we thrive on it. We need it. And there's so many available opportunities in this day and age for us still to have connection. In 2020, I mean, wow, it's bushfires. And from the bushfires, let's all get together and connect. Let's be there for one another. Let's be a strength, a powerhouse for one another. And then COVID comes along. And then it's a division. But the word I use with that, where we can all do it, and from my lived experience, I've been on the precipice a number of times with suicide. I've nearly lost my life. And I use the word pivot. Let's pivot. There's hope. There's always another day. And when we pivot and we be resilient and change our scope and focus with the environment that is at hand at that time, or albeit so adverse, it is the case that we can, all of us can, move through and succeed. And this too shall pass. This too shall pass. COVID will go. It's hard. It is very difficult for all of us. But it's about pivoting to the adverse environment that we're in at that time. And as a police officer for 16 years, a detective sergeant, the amount of times I had to pivot and change my thought process to be resilient, to stay in tune, to stay intact with who I was too many times to count. So the journey I'm going to take you on today is a journey, and there's three things I want to take you to take with you. And the first one is about you. We cannot help anyone. We cannot provide assistance to anyone, and proper assistance or proper care, proper support, until we have self-compassion and self-care for ourselves. And I want to use this as an analogy. It's a backpack. We all have a cross to bear. My life story and suicide, ideation and attempts and things I've gone through is my cross to bear. No one is better or worse or anything else, because life can be hard. It can be difficult. In my mind, I did not reach out because I thought I would lose my career. But you know what? I'm the paradox. From not reaching out and trying to hold on for 2 years, fighting against compassion fatigue, fighting against the persecution that may have happened from being a detective sergeant, about to move through to inspector, putting up my hand may have been a persecution. What's the organisation going to think? What are the people around me going to think? I didn't want to be persecuted. I didn't want to place myself in a position where I would lose what was dear to me. But what I was really losing was my life. It was a drain on my life. Because I fought against compassion fatigue, and I always did. I joined the police at 19. I joined with every other person at the New South Wales Police Academy, every other person I worked with, compassionate, caring person who wants to make a change for society, who wants to make a difference. And this includes people within our community. It's not just emergency services or police, it's not just military, it's all of us. All of us have empathy, care amongst us within. It's the environment around us that can cause us trauma or stress that can change us as a being. And early intervention to seek help is the key. And I'm a paradox for the very reason that I know without any chance of it not being true, had I sought help and not worried about stigma and culture, I'd still be a police officer. I'd still be living where I wanted to live in the career I loved, the career I wanted to be for the rest of my life. And I want to express to you how critical it is to get that early help. One of the best things I can approach with that is we all need to take self. And we all look at mental health in two ways. Mental health is like this. Imagine a continuum. And with that continuum, and I'm putting imagine a traffic lights, traffic signals over here, and it's coming sideways. Over here is green. This is mental health, mental wellness. But we have a sliding scale. Over here, it's green. It's being resilient. Sorry, someone's off mute. Sorry, guys, if anyone's there who not on mute, could you press? Sam,
I've got
I
it.
think
Got it.
as the host,
Yeah.
is mute everyone except for myself.
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. So, if we imagine a traffic light sideways and sitting like this as a continuum, because we all have, across the bear, as I said, we all have difficulties in our life. Now, mental wellness is down here and it's green. And we're going well. We're using resilience. We're adapting to the environment we're in. And everything is green and good. That is fantastic. Keep going. Sleeping well. Exercise. These are all the pinnacles and all the telltale signs of true resilience. They're markers, they're scaffolding. Sleep, exercise, going for a walk, getting proper sleep, true sleep. Connection. That is probably the biggest one I will talk about today. Because what we're going through at the moment is absolutely critical. We have very, very strong connection because we have been divided. We've been divided by an environment. Connection is critical. We can also look at as part of the resilience and scaffolding of that is being mindful and spiritual in a way, and it doesn't mean anything to do with religion. If you're religious or not, it doesn't matter, but it's about being spiritual, being in the moment, listening to the birds, sitting there, listening, hearing, feeling everything around you without worry or rumination. This is all key to resilience and self-awareness. Because what we tend to do all the time, and a lot of us do it, and it's just been plugged into us over the years, is we do this. We ruminate about the past, about what if? What if I did this? What if I changed this? Or we worry for the future. Rumination or worry. When we need to just be, live for today, pivot, be resilient to the environment because it will pass, because we've all gone through adversity. We've all gone through hardship, hard times, and we're still here. We're still here, and you're hearing me now speak right now. And what I'm talking to you about is based on lived experience. It's based on research. It's based on my work with psychologists, psychiatrists, hardline research. And we're here now because we've all gone through adversity. So please be self-aware. Don't allow your traffic light, as I said, turned on its side. Green is here. But when it starts coming up here, and we approach that middle area of the orange, prepare to stop. Something's happening. Something's happening when we look at a traffic light or the continuum of mental health to mental illness. We move through. And when we start hitting that orange flag through self-awareness, understanding truly ourselves, how we are traveling, it's time then to reach out. And it's powerful to reach out. I champion people who reach out because you know what? It's not about that there's something wrong with you. It's about sometimes clarity. Having some clarity in your life. It could be financial counselling. It could be bereavement or grief that you've lost someone important in your life. These are all things that just require understanding and clarity so you're moving in the right direction and not the direction down here when we hit our orange light to the red light. Because when we hit our red light and I hit the red light, I held on for too long. As I said, I'm a paradox. I hit the red light and my final day in policing, And it saddens me still. I lost my career because I just wanted to help people. And I could wrestle with the best. I was fit as anything you could imagine. I trained. I wanted to help people. And I hit the red light because I left it too long and fought against compassion fatigue. I didn't want to become a shell. I saw when I joined with sergeants from the 1960s who had the Burt Reynolds moustaches. And it was like they were a shell. They'd been for 30, 40 years and they were counting down the days they could leave because they had no outlet, no one to speak to. And I call it a filing cabinet. When we don't talk is therapy. When we don't reach out, it's like having a filing cabinet, and especially when we're in adverse times, going through adversity, it's like picking up all of those adverse thoughts, rumination, worries, and throwing them in the filing cabinet and trying to squeeze it closed. And it doesn't make sense. It's going to sit there, it's going to circulate, and it's going to keep you going down to the path to that red, that traffic light red on that continuum. Green, mental wellness. Red, traffic light, tipped. Red is when we can suffer actual depression or anxiety or another mental illness. And then we're through recovery then. So early intervention is key. Please take that with you today. You've got to look after yourself first. Make sure your backpack, it doesn't matter if there's a little bit in your backpack, and I'm not talking about having a bad day. We all have bad days. There's a magical number though. And I want you to hear this magical number. It's 2 weeks. If you are ruminating, if you are worrying about a thing that's happening in your life and you are not seeking help for 2 weeks or longer, you are very much moving to that red zone where you can be diagnosed with a mental illness. And that's why early intervention is key. And you are brave to do so. Because the stigma and culture of yesteryear and years gone past is stiff upper lip. That's the culture I went through in the police. It's changing. It's slowly changing. But it's also the case that it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay for things not to go right all the time for us. But it's about a ready reckoner self-awareness and allowing ourselves to have that when we're not coping, it's time to reach out. And that's bravery. That is true bravery. That's true encouragement and for others. It's you're an inspiration. And we should all champion people who reach out. We should look at them and think, how strong are they? How powerful are they to do so? Imagine a story. You go to your local pub or cafe. Bob, Catherine has gone to see someone. He or she hasn't been doing too well. Rather than this, what are they up to? And all the talk that we're used to that goes behind, what about if we did this? How brave are they for doing that? Their whole life is going to change because they care. They're seeking some clarity, some understanding. What a legend. Let's champion people. Stop the stigma. And Are You Okay is about that. It's about us first, but then helping others when we're okay and being a champion in allowing people to feel that it's okay not to be okay. We break our leg. Do we keep walking around and ignoring it? No. Go to the hospital. So with our mind, the most intricate part of our bodies. We need to go see someone, get some clarity, get some help. It's not hard, and we can all do it. So that's one part today that I want you to take away, is about self-awareness and involving in that self-awareness, and furthermore is connection. The hallmark of connection. Find as part of your self-awareness what you love, what gives you meaning, what gives you purpose. Because the 3 hallmarks, Professor Joyner, his name is, and he went through the 3 hallmarks of what can lead us to suicide. It's when someone feels they're a burden, they're lonely, they have a means, and they have a desire. The final thing is desire. The 3 other principles: loneliness, they feel like a burden, have a means to do so because they have nothing to live for. And leading on before we get to that is the 3 pinnacle, high area results of mental illness. The biggest mental illness in Australia today of 2 million plus people, that's diagnosis, is anxiety. Depression is around 1 million. So 1 million depression, 2 million diagnosed with anxiety, depression. And the 3 hallmarks of leading to that are this: hopelessness, worthlessness, and the last one is, sorry, it's left at the moment, it's been a long day. Hopelessness, worthlessness, and feeling as though you're a burden. Helplessness. These are the 3 hallmarks of what worthlessness, is the last one. These are the 3 hallmarks of what can cause and lead to depression and anxiety. So we can beat them, having meaning in our life. Meaning. We can wake up every day when we have meaning. It gives us hope. I always say to my family, and it's one of the things, and they totally agree, and my friends as well, is the best part of a holiday is what? The lead up to a holiday. The excitement, the looking at where you're going to go. I know we can't do it too much now at the moment, but the lead up where you're going, because a holiday goes in a blink of the eye and you go, where did that go? But it's something to look forward to. When we have meaning and purpose in our life to bridge those worthless, burdensome, loneliness, hopelessness, things that can cause us an illness, we can wake up in the morning. And this comes down to having something to look forward to each day, something to be grateful for. It could be family, it could be a pet, it could be anything whatsoever. Joining a group you're interested in. Start evaluating and finding yourself. What interests you? What gives you purpose and meaning? These will stave you away from those pinnacles of leading into the issues that can lead to suicide. I want to lead now into the other 2 purposes of why I'm here. And they are how to go about having a conversation with someone you think is struggling, the way to do it, where to do it, and also the theme for this year is this: when we speak to someone we believe is struggling, there's more to say after "Are you okay?" Are you okay is every day of the year, not just today. Today is a call to action for all of us, and championing all of us to do it every day of the year, to look for people who may be struggling, seeing those signs and symptoms. So what we have with that is this: when we formulate connection allows us to see the signs and symptoms of others. It allows us to see if someone is struggling. It doesn't matter if they're an introvert or extrovert, but it allows us to see change. We have 5, as human beings, 5 senses. We have touch, we have smell, we have taste, we have hearing, listening, and we also have touch, smell, taste, hearing, listening, and we also have, I've lost it again. There's a 5th one. Sorry, I can't remember what I've gone through. But there's a sixth one I want to really place with you right now, and it is gut instinct, intuition. When we know someone, when we have connection, whether it's a family member, a friend, a work colleague, we can see the signs. But if we can't see the signs, because people can mask those signs, what we can do then, we can rely on our intuition and gut instinct. And a lot of studies done that gut instinct and intuition is based exactly around the same intelligence as a canine, a dog. They will know a storm is coming unless you cheat and look up the weather before you ever know it. They will know a person they don't trust who is around. So don't misjudge that feeling, that intuition in your stomach that something is wrong. It could be your brother, it could be your sister, it could be anyone in your life, a friend, that there's something wrong. Trust that gut instinct, because when you delve a bit deeper, it's a case that you can find out what is going on. And that person may open up to you, because people do wear masks. I wore a mask for many years. I hid what I was going through. I didn't want to lose my career. And what ended up happening to me was this, is I lost my career. And after my career, I had a suicide attempt on the last day of my job as a police officer. I had my firearm in places I shouldn't have. I was struggling. I kept it quiet. In the middle of the night, I was waking up looking over my son. And it was terribly hard. I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. I was about to get promotions, put through to go for an inspector's position. So being quiet to me at the time was the smart, appropriate way to do things, but it wasn't. And I almost lost my life. And then when I saw my doctor, and this is why I say to you, talk is therapy, and listening to someone if they're struggling is therapy. My wife said to me, you need to get your moles checked. I still kept it from my wife after that last day, although I was so struggling. I just felt like I had nothing to live for. I felt like a burden. So on the guise of getting my moles checked and seeing my doctor, because my wife said I should, he asked me, how are you travelling? I filled out a DSM-5, which is basically the Bible and of the doctors in regards to how you are with depression, PTSD, and it was off the Richter scale. And when he asked me that question, it was the first time in a long time, because I'd left it for so long. I broke down and I just said, I'm not coping. And I was a sobbing mess. And he called my work, and I'll never forget that time. I was a blubbering mess. I've wrestled with the best. I've handcuffed the best. I've fought the best, but I was a blubbering mess. And when he called my work, I went, wow, there it is. It's come out finally. But you know what it was? I could speak, and he listened. He asked me, how are you traveling? And although I was spluttering and I was speaking and I wasn't coping, it was like, oh my God, someone is actually caring and listening for me. I just want to talk. I wish I could have talked back here in the orange zone as early as possible, not when I'm up here where it's dark, dark red on the traffic light system, on the continuum of mental health to mental illness. And when I could finally speak, I will never forget from being a child, because my mother used to make and lie to us, God love her, she's still alive, but God love her, about potatoes used to be different. My sisters and I knew something was up in a pressure cooker, the old steel pressure cooker. And she used to mash in the potato and try to hide the pumpkin. So we had white and orange pumpkin in there. And I never forget as a kid going, oh, my sisters would go, oh God, no, we've got steamed vegetables coming, great. going to be a really good dinner. But anyhow, it was like her putting the fork in the pressure cooker. I'll never forget it as a kid, and lifting it. And it was shh. That's how I felt. Because someone finally would listen to me. And it was amazing. And that's why talk is therapy. It really is. And I want you to understand that. Self-awareness, connection, finding meaning, finding purpose, whatever you like. There's so many groups. There's meaning and purpose now virtually, if we have to go virtually, because this too. Let's pivot, use what we have to the environment, and we will get through it. And then find a connection and talk and connect, because it will save and change your life. I can't tell you how much from my lived experience that it will do such a thing. And what about other people? That's part of Are You Okay? Is let's have a think about other people. Our backpack, remember our backpack? It's not heavy. We're going okay. So you come first. But let's have a think about other people, those changes, those signs, those things where we're not really happy with how someone is because we're worried about them for a certain reason. I want to take you through the steps of how we can look after that person now. So the first thing I want everyone to know is this. You don't have to be a counsellor. You don't have to be a professional. You don't have to be a psychologist, a psychiatrist, or anyone else, because we've all got this. You've got what it takes. They come later down the track. So never forget that. You've got what it takes. You can change or save a life. Just following these simplistic steps. Family member, friend, work colleague. It can be anyone that you have that good connection with and know. Our first step is this. So simple. Right place, right time. Ask, are you okay? And it doesn't have to be this. It can be, how are you travelling, mate? The right place and right time could be having a beer. It could be having a coffee. The time it takes to have a coffee, you can change and save a life. Just from being a person who, how are you travelling, mate? Invested conversation. Not the bypass one that we can get caught up with thinking, oh, someone's just doing it to tick a box or whatever. No, it's actually showing compassion for someone. How are you travelling, mate? How are you going? It doesn't have to be, are you okay? Ask, are you okay? This is just, you can't do anything wrong. When you're compassionate, you care about someone, you see them struggling and you know there's something going wrong. It's just a matter of reaching out. So we ask the question, right place, right time. We don't want to ask whether we've got to be somewhere else or we've got a meeting at work or we have to go to an appointment, because that person might open up. And we've asked the question and they start opening up, and it could be bereavement, grief. It could be anything that's going on in their life. These are the signs that we've seen, those symptoms. And we've asked that they open up, but we've got to leave. So no, right place, right time. Coffee, beer, sitting in the park, going for a walk, doing some exercise. Whatever it is that gives you time to have an engaged, invested conversation. That's all it is. How are you travelling? Be engaged, be invested. And there's an acronym. It's called ALEC. A, ask. Next one. L, all we need to do is listen. I'll come back to the second way if this can work. You ask someone how they're travelling or how are they, and they may, and it can happen, they may say, yeah, I'm fine. And I'll come back to that. Let's imagine they open up though for our first way of going through this. All we need to do is listen. No judgment, no trying to fix the problem. Just listen, be engaged, non-judgmental. We can say, I've never been through that. But what it sounds like, you're going through a hard time. but I'm here to support you. What happened next? Remember what I said when I saw my doctor? It was like the pressure cooker. Talk is therapy. When you talk and you have someone who will just listen, you don't need anyone when you first talk to solve the problems. The problems are being solved automatically within the chemistry of your brain and working out what's going on from that rumination, from that worry. Just need to be invested and listen. I'm here for you. What happened next? How are you feeling after that? Let them talk. Eye contact. You don't have to say, oh, do this. You don't. You just listen. Sometimes we try to solve problems when they're not needed to be solved. We just need to listen. And you'll have no idea how much that can change everything by just having a listening ear, someone who's compassionate. So A, ask. L, listen. And next step, and this is where our professional comes in. Encourage action. This is where we say, have you seen your doctor? I've heard it's good. We show support and we encourage action to see the professional. EAP, if you're at work. GP. And what we do with encourage action is say, I haven't been there, mate, or I haven't been there. Whatever may be, but I'm here to support you. Do you want me to help you? Do you want me to make some phone calls or find I've heard this GP is good. I've heard EAP, if it's a workplace, is good. Online, for example, Beyond Blue now have a thing called news access. You get 6 to 8 free sessions to speak to a professional online right now. I've heard that's good. Do you want to try that? I'm here to support you. What you do, like I'm trying to support if I was talking to someone now. Jump online, it's called News Access, and they have 6 to 8 free professional chats to help someone. How amazing is that? And all you're doing is supporting someone, encouraging action. That's all you need to do. So we've got an ALE and a last one, and it could be a week later, it could be a few days later, is this. Check in. We may have seen change in our friend, our family member, brother, sister, mother, father, son, daughter, best friend, work colleague. It doesn't matter, whoever that connection is with. We may have seen change, and we can say, go have a beer, go have a coffee. When you go for your next walk, wow, I've seen a difference in you. You know what you may have done? What you may have done from that initial conversation is this. You could have either changed a life or saved a life. They might say, thank you for listening to me. I went and saw someone. I'm getting help now. It could be over bereavement, grief, financial difficulties. It could be over losing children in a marital issue. It could be over anything that is adverse in our lives that you could imagine. But having that clarity, like the filing cabinet I mentioned before, where we file things away, and that's what the clarity and understanding of a professional can do. And then we can check in, and the person may be on their way to recovery. And you may have just changed but saved a life. That is so powerful. That is so powerful, and you can't go wrong. All you've done is been a compassionate person to see a friend or family member or work colleague who is struggling. So let's go back to what I said before. What happens when you ask, how are you traveling? Are you okay? All good. The person says, yeah, I'm all good. So John says to Louise, how are you traveling? Are you okay? Having a coffee, having a beer, whatever they're doing. Going for a walk, exercising. Yeah, I'm all good. Yeah, I'm all good. So what do we do then? This is where we can simplify such an easy way to bypass that. And the way we do it is this. We say, Louise, for my sister, work colleague, my friend at work, my best friend. It doesn't matter, whoever it is in your life that you have that connection with. I have seen this. The signs and symptoms. Your head's down lately. You're irritable. You're not attending events anymore. You're not the usual person, you're a happy, upbeat person you are. We diagnose and assess, and we just put back to them the changes we have seen. As simple as that. And then all we do from there is, what we're doing is creating self-awareness first and foremost. But what we're doing there is this. The self-awareness created from that for Louise in this example is that, wow, if John is seeing this, how many other people are seeing this? Maybe I do need to go get some help, because our family are going through financial difficulties. We still haven't got over the fact that our son at school is being bullied. It's wearing down on us. My head has been down. I have been more irritable. I haven't been turning up like I used to. I haven't been online and connecting as I used to. I haven't been doing things that I used to. And so create self-awareness where they might go, I'm going to get some clarity and understanding, and I am going to go see someone. So you just put back what you've seen. And even if they don't respond, it could open up from then. When you say it, they could respond. But even if they don't respond, you've created self-awareness. And all we do from there, if we don't see change, is we come back to the check-in. Another coffee, another beer. They're a friend, remember? We had to catch up anyhow, go for a walk in the park, go for a walk with our dogs, be part of a walking group, be part of a team, a football team. It doesn't, whatever you have that connection with, you're going to catch up again. Right place, right time. And you ask again, how are you traveling now? What's going on in life? How are you going? And they might turn around and say, thank you, I've gone and seen someone. They might still say, oh, yeah, all right. But you can just put back the signs you're seeing. It's so simplistic. And remember this, you cannot do anything wrong. The research is there as well, that if you are that worried about someone, you can ask. If it comes to that, it doesn't even matter if you're not that worried. If someone's not opening up, you can ask them. You can ask them with every confidence, are you suicidal? Have you thought about suicide? That will not make a person, the research is there, suicide. That is actually a thing that can change perspective on suicidology and the thought process in their mind. Because when they say it and think about it and they open up about it, it can really bring them to the point of, if that is the case, that they then will seek help. But it's not going to force them to do so. There's so much research in regards to that. And it's true. And I know from myself, I just wanted someone to ask me, are you okay? Wasn't going to, are you suicidal? I would have gone, yeah, at that time. When I was in my red area, mental illness, absolutely. So I have, depression, I have PTSD, and I'm in recovery every day. And that's okay. I pivot and I do my best. I'm going to get myself back into training like I used to. And I'm building on that. I'm working on that. But it's a good thing, because I've got hope that I'm going to get strong again. I'm going to get fit again like I used to be. But that's okay. I will do it. I will succeed with it. I've got hope for that. My son and I are going to train. My daughter and I are going to train. Like my mates and I are going to train. So I've got hope for the future with exactly those points. Sometimes I'm not up to it, and that's fine as well. But I have hope for that, and I'm going to make that change. And remember as well, you are doing your best. You cannot do anything wrong when you have compassion and you're reaching out as a help giver for someone else. You cannot not do anything wrong. So anything you say is okay. And there's research on that. It's about having someone who cares. How are you traveling? How's life going? Doesn't matter what you say. As long as you care, as long as you're invested and you care, that's it. That is as simple factor of it. And don't try to solve their problem, just listen. Encourage action, check in later on. And it's as simple as that. And that day, later on in my life, with insurance companies following me, I didn't feel like a man in my life after I lost my career. I had identity crisis. I didn't know who I was. I had a bachelor's degree in police investigations. I didn't know what I was going to do after that or where I was going to go. My family was followed, photos taken, trying to go to the gym, photos taken. I received a dossier and it put me on that precipice. I thought I'd lost it all, and I thought, there's no point living on a burden. But I sat at my favourite beach a week later and I looked at the cliffs and I thought, I'm not up there. And it's time to take it back myself. I don't care. I don't care about this insurance rubbish. I can still help people. I can still do what's in my heart and what I wanted to do from day one. So I picked myself up, and for the first time in a long time, I had a rice ball on my face. I went, I'm going to get going again. I started presenting around Sydney, northern Sydney, southern, to Lifeline, because I had to call Lifeline once. I was struggling that bad. And I presented to the telephonist to thank them, to show them a person who was on the other end of that phone, to let them know what I was feeling at the time, what worked, what didn't work. I then moved into authoring a best-selling book through Penguin Random House. I got a publishing deal and I've authored a best-selling book. I've become an ambassador for Are You OK? I do my own speaking work around the whole of Australia. I've been in documentaries overseas in Canada, in the United Kingdom. I've been on the Today Show, 30-odd radio stations. My wife's grandmother and I still trying to get this in my head, but we were in the Woman's Weekly, and she said, when you're ever in the Woman's Weekly, you've made it in life. And I still don't understand that. I have not made it in life. But we're in the Woman's Weekly and all these great things. And this is about hope, and this is about meaning and purpose. And I've found it again. Sure, I'm recovering, and sure, I've got to fix up elements of my life, but that's okay. I've gone through adversity. We all have gone through adversity. But we can keep going. And I want you to take that with you. Remember yourself first and foremost. Take that with you from today. I hope I inspire you. The reason I tell you about what I've achieved after almost losing my life on multiple occasions is about that we all have this. I'm no better and no worse than anyone else. We're all in this together through action. So moving forward is a case that self-awareness, self-compassion, this too shall pass, what we're going through. Finding that meaning in our life, finding connection with others is crucial. And there's so many groups and places that we can do so out there. What do you want to do? What makes you buzz? Get up in the morning. Have a think. We all have that. We all have that ability. What makes us go? It can be anything. It can be lawn bowls. It can be absolutely anything. It doesn't matter. But it absolutely will get us up in the morning. The next part is if other people are struggling. I really hope now that you understand how simplistic it is. And all it takes is just knowing when to ask, seeing those signs and symptoms, having those connections, and the simplicity in how to ask. And please, please trust me that you can not only change, but you can save a life. And I want you all to take that with you. And thank you so much. I'm here for you, Sam, if there's any questions.
Has anyone got any questions that they'd like to ask?
How are we asking questions?
Here we go. You can just speak, actually.
Okay. Look, what you spoke about was fantastic. It'd be good to get a transcript because, there's obviously very, very strong messages in there, and that would be very beneficial. And secondly, I just wanted to give a comment. Like I saw somebody talk about a family member who had committed suicide, and that family member had committed suicide when they were 22, and they talk about once you commit suicide, it's final. You're sort of ending your life for every other year that you live after that. And I suppose that's one thing that I took a lot of courage out of. When things do get tough, that they will improve. So that's a second bit, but I just really wanted to say that was a very, very thorough and enjoyable seminar. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And what you said in respects to suicide, it is a with life when another day rises, and I've been there, and people often talk and sometimes say that someone who suicides or takes their own life is selfish. But having been there, I can completely say this in no uncertain terms: is you're not cognitive. To take your own life, I thought I was doing anything that was but selfish. I thought I was a burden. I thought I was putting so much on my family that not being around anymore would actually relieve them. But when you're cognitive, it is very much a very permanent choice. And I know when I'm cognitive and thinking straight, and I know that it's the end. And it's something that I could even add this in, and it's part of the talks I do, but I'll add this in for you as well, is I tell people in respects to this, and it's a thing that I do, is that I was saying goodbye to my family at the time I was suicidal on the precipice because I thought I was a burden. But now I look at the photos I look at the photos I had at the same time when I was punching into a rock and had blood over me, had to get surgery of just not be here anymore. I've reframed and pivoted, once again, that word pivot, from that, in that I look at those photos now, I'll never leave you. And I've made a pledge to my family, my children, that I won't leave them. And that's, so it can bring you back into cognition when you're in a very vulnerable state. And I tell people, carry something precious to you. It can be anything that you can carry on your person. And if you're vulnerable, make a pledge when you're cognitive: I'll never leave you. Even if it's someone who's passed, I promise you I'm going to live out my life to the best of my ability. And it's so powerful. Because it takes me out of having no cognition. I've made a pledge. And when you make a pledge to something that means so much, it can take you out of that area of no cognition, that you're not a burden. You actually do mean something to something or someone. You've made a pledge to that person: I'm going to fulfill and live the best life I can and get through adversity. And it's powerful in the darkest times. But thank you for what you said, and I hope it did help.
And Emma, Jane, I think, has a question.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I just want to say thank you for the talk. It was really, really helpful. I have a friend who's going through a really hard time. She has been for a while now. And I'm just wondering, I try and be as encouraging as I can, and I say things like, you're doing the best you can, and, don't have so much pressure on yourself. But I'm just wondering, does that get tiring for a friend to hear someone say that over and over again? Or does it kind of lose its meaning if someone keeps saying the same thing?
That's a really good question. And it comes back to the fundamentals of your relationship, I guess, with that connection. But also, when you break it down and you're seeing these issues and problems that someone is facing or going through, and you can see it, I don't think anyone could ever say, when you're a compassionate person and you're looking out for someone, that they'll ever turn around and say, I can't believe how compassionate you are. And how dare you ask me if I'm okay, and be sincere and being a support and letting them know, no, remember, I'm here for you if you need a chat. I'm here to support you. So it's a case that keep going with it. If you're seeing that someone is struggling, relenting is giving up. And you can't. I've had, I wish I had all people ask me, in the times I was struggling, but I was in a very, as I said, a very stigma and cultural based industry. And I say to you, and you can't get in any trouble when push comes to shove, because you'll always be remembered as that support person and that really good friend there. And just a reminder, I'm here to help you, support you. I'm not here to solve, but I'm here as a listening ear and support you whenever you want to chat. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much, Simon, for your help.
You're most welcome.
Does anyone else have any questions?
I typed a question, but I don't think you saw it.
Oh, okay. I'll have a quick look. Do you want to just say it, Kate?
Sure. So my question is, with COVID-19, obviously a lot of people are distant and isolated, especially myself. We have family in Victoria who are very isolated and are single and live alone. And with the government sort of thing, they're not allowed to interact. I know they've made slight changes saying they can have one nominated person, but we've been in this situation now for 6 months or more. And those people who are generally cope okay are really missing human touch. But my real question is, being someone who's distant, how do you notice changes? I mean, in my family, the older generations are very waspy. They're not taught to talk about their feelings. And I guess unless you're in front of them, you can't really dig for it. How do you suggest watching signs over the phone or via email or whatever?
Yeah, great. That's a great question. Look, at the end of the day, and it is a factor that we're very much so removed, and it's horrendous for that exact thing you're saying. So, in circumstances like exactly what you're saying, where we don't have that physical connection and that physical, once again going back to all our senses. So when we're away from each other, they're so limited. I mean, there's studies in regards to that. His name's Merton, and it's 57 to 60% of interaction is about not what's said or how it's said, but body language. So exactly what you're saying over the phone and things like that make it so difficult. But what you can keep doing at those times and is relaying to your family, particularly the older school culture. I've had to break down a lot of stigma and culture there, but once again it's just the same message: is that this too will pass. This will pass, and I'm here for you, and I miss you, and show love and the best you can to pivot under the circumstances, under the environment. Because at the end of the day, we're in an adverse environment. We have to acknowledge that. It's not the best, but to get through to the other side, we've all gone through adversity. And the way I speak to people who are of an older generation is, have a think about throughout your entire life, the adversity you've been through. Because they're wiser, older, they've been through more difficulties. And relaying that and having 3 things in their head that they've been through, but they've gotten through to keep going, is something that you can rely on once again as a fallback to even write it down. I got through this, I got through this, and I got through this, and I will get through this. But what you're saying is 100% true. And on the phone, is you just be that best support person and pivot to the best you can on the phone with what you have. If we go back 30, 40, 50 years ago, all we had was a phone. We didn't have any of this. we have people at distance, and we can only make do with what we have at that time.
Do you think it's important just to make more frequent contact? Or is it best to acknowledge that their isolation and their loneliness and ask them to talk to you about it, or to tell them about things to distract them, like other things? I'm trying to work out where the balance is. Do you tell them about the great things that are happening, or do you say, yep, it sucks being in isolation. Have you gone for a walk today? Right.
Yeah. So with that again, so fundamentally, what we do fundamentally is support. So how's Victoria like? Well, because they have an hour where they can exercise, I believe, under stage 4. Did you go for that walk? You can even look at with the support factor, looking at principal ways of people that your parents may know or engage in the same sort of issue within that 5K or whatever radius, is look up that there's a perhaps someone else who goes for walks. I know you've got to keep social distancing and things like that. But what you can do is be there as a support person, that I'm here for you all the time. Set down some ground rules as well in regards to, mum, dad, grandparents, uncle. It doesn't matter. You're disconnected through the environment, but you can create that connection through other ways and pivot to that being resilient for them as well, and ask them, how would you like me to support you through this as well? So it's sort of like communication is like, it's crap, we're going through this, but I'm hurting and it sucks that I really want to see you, as much as I'm sure you are, feeling that way as well, but we're going to get through this together. We're a team and we're apart, but we're together because we're going to get through this together. Shall we have, can someone help you with what we're doing now? The visual, older people may not be able to know how to use technology, but that's fine as well. But should we have 2 phone calls a day? And during those phone calls, should we do, I don't know, a game over the phone? I don't know, something like, I tell people, use visual stuff, do trivia stuff, or on Friday, we're going to have a trivia thing over the phone, like thinking outside the landscape of, and pivoting our minds to being resilient for ourselves and others during the difficult times.
Play words with friends, in other words. Yeah.
Oh, what's that, sorry?
I was going to say, play words with friends or something over Facebook or something, yeah.
100% exactly. Like, do you see that word pivot? So we're pivoting to still create those connections, but we're just coming back into the adversity of the environment of the day where we can still get through.
So acknowledgement as well as diversion, yeah.
Well, it is, I guess the diversion is a survival. I'm just thinking of your word using diversion. I look at it more of the environment that we have no control of has created a variation on our existence.
I more mean it divert from the misery, from the isolation, give them something else to think about other than the 4 walls. You know what I mean? Like, let's play words with friends, like Scrabble, whatever, virtually. Let's do something else rather than it's just you in your house by yourself.
Well, I suppose that provides meaning for them, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Something to do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I meant by diversion. I think maybe it's not the best choice of words, yeah.
No, that's okay, yes. Yes.
All good, thanks, Simon.
No, you're most welcome. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions? No? Well, thank you, Simon. I think it was a really useful conversation. I got a lot out of it. Oh, you do? Challenge girl? Unmute.
Sorry, I was actually just saying thank you. But Simon, I'm so grateful. I personally am so passionate about compassion. And I think the thing that I appreciate the most from what you said as well, Simon, is just really stressing the point that it starts from within. And, how you were saying, like, your own backpack. I like to refer to it as like a tree, and you're the trunk. We all have our own analogies that we like to use. But I really do appreciate it. And you know what I really appreciate as well? I appreciate that you are a strong, brilliant man saying this for all of us as well, because it is so, and it really comes back as well to that being brave and courageous. And so often these days, mental health is, I mean, it is being spoken about more, which is so fabulous. But, you know, it's often that, oh yes, mental health sort of thing. But it is, I think, I agree with you. I think it's the bravest and most courageous thing that you can do. And in doing so, you're practicing that self-compassion and compassion towards others. And so I'm very grateful for tonight. And thank you to Ku-ring-gai Council for putting it on.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you. They were lovely words. Thank you. And I'm so glad you got a lot out of it.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Simon. I think we got a lot out of it. And I think that we've all been given some tools to go out and ask people, you know, how are you traveling? I think Fran or someone said she liked that better because it's more open and we can get more of a response from people. So I hope we all take that with us and got a lot out of tonight. And it will be up on our website. So if you want to listen to something again or encourage someone to listen to it, then it will be there in the next day or so. Great.
Well, thank you, Sam. And yeah, whoever's left, the best finishing thing I can have. And thank you so much, Ku-ring-gai Council, in sponsoring my Are You OK presentation. I'm a huge dog lover and I love dogs. And I think the best thing I can say at the end, and that's one of my favourite sayings, is be the person you think you are. And when we're like that, we can't lose.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Simon, I want to ask you just one thing. If people want to get involved in Are You OK, in helping people, how do they do that?
Yeah, sure. If you look up Are You OK? On the website, they will have all the contact details, etc. for you, and give them a call. And they absolutely love for whatever, if you're in a group or whatever you're doing, to champion the Are You OK message, and at work or whatever it may be. And you can most certainly, you know.
I'm a qualified counsellor, but not currently working as one. But I would be interested to know whether you can volunteer for Are You OK? Because I think there's too many people that run out of their sessions on, you know, Medicare or can't afford to pay for further sessions. There has to be somewhere for people to go to be able to talk to people. Counselling personally saved my life. That's what made me become one. And I just think there should be more ways that people can help, more people that are trained to answer the question. And for so long, Are You OK has been the only message, but nobody knew how to answer it if somebody said no. So I'm so grateful for Are You OK teaching people how to answer that question, because that's the one message that's been missing from this slogan for so long.
Yeah, 100%. And they will love you, and I'm sure you'll be able to help in so many ways. If you just look up Are You OK, it has contact us and give them a call. And they're a small group, but an amazing group, and I'm sure they'll love your kindness and everything, and helping out, and someone valued like yourself who's trained. So
thanks, Simon.
Thank you, Simon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Samantha. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Great presentation.
Terrific.
Stay well, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.